It's not every season that fans get to circle a game like this on the calendar. Bills versus Saints isn't a regular matchup. It only comes around once every few years thanks to the NFL's rotation system. And if you're a Buffalo fan, you probably remember the last time these two teams met under the bright lights of Thanksgiving night in New Orleans. This time, the scene shifts to Orchard Park, and the vibes couldn't be more different for both squads. Let's start with the Bills. They've been cruising, doing exactly what a team with Super Bowl expectations is supposed to do. Sure, there have been a few hiccups. Every season has them. But overall, Buffalo's identity is solid. Their stars are showing up, and they're establishing themselves early as a legitimate contender in the AFC once again. Now the Saints? That's a different story. New Orleans is in a transitional era, trying to rebuild, reshape, and refocus under new leadership. And while their first couple of games gave fans a little reason for optimism, what happened last week in Seattle was an absolute disaster. There's no sugarcoating it. They looked flat, unprepared, and overwhelmed. Special teams blunders, missed field goals, a block punt, a punt return touchdown allowed, and even an interception that got wiped out. It was a meltdown across all three phases of football. The scoreboard said it all, down by 32 at halftime, their worst first-half deficit since 2005. So now the storyline heading into this week, for Clash, is clear. The Saints aren't just looking to win. They're looking to bounce back with some dignity. They need to prove to themselves, their fans, and the league that they can hang with one of the NFL's elite. And while no one is necessarily expecting them to go into Buffalo and walk away with a win, showing they can be competitive, that they can punch back, land a few blows, and keep things close, would go a long way in building confidence for this young team and for their first-year head coach, Kellen Moore. The crazy thing is, despite their struggles, there are flashes in New Orleans that suggest there's more under the hood. Look back at weeks 1 and 2, tight losses at home to Arizona and San Francisco. Games where the Saints didn't give up any touchdowns on special teams or hidden possessions. They played cleaner, more composed football and found ways to stay competitive. Against Seattle, it was the opposite. They weren't just battling the opponent, they were battling themselves. That's the worst kind of football. When you're your own biggest problem, there's no way to survive against a team that's firing on all cylinders. And the reality is, Seattle didn't even need long, grinding drives to pile up the points. They scored on 7 straight possessions, and many of those came on short fields, thanks to a blocked punt or a 60-yard return. Quick drives, minimal resistance, and explosive plays all over the field. The Saints just couldn't stop the bleeding. It was the kind of loss that leaves scars, unless they find a way to bounce back fast. And that's where Orchard Park comes in. It's a measuring stick moment. Not just for the Saints, but for the Bills too, especially on one side of the ball, third down defense. If you followed Buffalo last year, you already know this was a glaring issue. The Bills made it all the way to the AFC Championship game, nearly knocking off the Chiefs, but third down defense was their Achilles heel all season. They finished 29th in the NFL in that category, giving up conversions on 44% of opponents' third downs. Fast forward to this season, and not much has changed. Through the first 3 weeks, they're at 43%, barely an improvement. And honestly, that number is being propped up by a complete shutdown against the Jets in Week 2, when New York went 0 for 11 on third downs. Remove that outlier, and the picture gets uglier. Week 1 against Baltimore, 6 for 11. Week 3 against Miami, 10 of 15. Let that sink in. That's 62% allowed against the Dolphins. Even worse, the Dolphins faced 15 third downs. That tells you Buffalo was at least doing enough to get them a third down, but once there, they couldn't get off the field. And this is with reinforcements still working their way back. Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, and rookie first-rounder Maxwell Harrison are expected to return soon. Plus, key pieces like Michael Hoy and Larry Ogunjobi are working through suspensions. So yes, this defense has been shorthanded. But at the end of the day, you're the Buffalo Bills. Expectations don't go down just because some guys are missing. To be fair, the Bills' defense has been trying to evolve. They're showing more 3-linebacker looks than ever before under Sean McDermott. There's more stunning up front. Some exotic pressure packages that weren't in the playbook last year. But the execution? still inconsistent. Until this defense proves it can get off the field when it matters most, third downs will remain the biggest red flag for a team with Super Bowl dreams. And it's not just Buffalo. Third down defense is haunting New Orleans too. The Saints are allowing conversions on over 45% of third downs, and shockingly, they're worse on third and long than they are on third and short. That's usually backwards. Most teams struggle in short yardage situations and thrive when they've got a long field behind sticks. But not the Saints. Against Seattle, they just couldn't get stops, even when they had the advantage. So Sunday becomes a story of two teams that, despite very different trajectories, are both desperate to figure out how to get their defenses off the field. And if neither unit improves, this game might be decided by who can string together drives and chew up the clock. Now, let's look at some matchups. Because if the Saints are going to hang in this one, they'll need to win some battles up front. Their offensive line is still searching for consistency. Rookie Taylor might be back at right tackle. Trevor Penning is expected to start at left guard, his third position since entering the league. This is a group that needs to find cohesion fast because Buffalo's defensive line is no joke. Between Joey Bosa off the edge, Greg Rousseau, who just signed a big new deal, and some explosive young interior players like TJ Sanders and Deone Walker, the Bills have more than enough firepower to cause chaos. That's why the Saints' run game becomes so crucial. This team is only creating 0.71 yards before contact, 28th in the league. That means their backs are getting hit almost immediately after taking the handoff. If they can't fix that, forget staying on schedule. Forget third and manageable. They'll be playing behind the chains all game. And that's a recipe for disaster against a defense that thrives on forcing long yardage situations. The other reason the run game matters? It gives Kellen Moore the full playbook. He wants unpredictability. He wants to mix downs, keep defenses guessing. But when your offense is in 3rd and 10 all day, that playbook shrinks real fast. So watch the Saints early. If they can get 3, 4, 5 yards on first down, then maybe they can stay in this fight longer than people expect. Flipping the script, the Bills' ground attack is one of the most unique in football. Under Joe Brady, they've quietly become one of the most run-heavy teams in the league. Top 5 in run rate. And they don't just run the ball. They run it with style. Tons of 12 and 13 personnel. Multiple tight ends. Extra gaps. And then there's James Cook, who right now might be the most effective back in football. He's top 2 in success rate on zone runs, and his ability to find cutback lanes is unreal. It's a nightmare to defend. You've got extra blockers so you're running back with elite vision. And oh yeah, Josh Allen, who makes every run game a +1 numbers advantage. And let's not forget the emergence of rookie tight end Jackson Haw, a guy who's already become one of the best run-blocking tight ends in the NFL. He's so good, the Bills no longer need to use Alec Anderson as a jumbo tight end. That tells you everything. This run game isn't just a complement to the pass. It's a foundation. It sets the tone. And if New Orleans can't slow it down, this could get out of hand quickly. And yet, here's the thing about the NFL. Weird stuff happens, especially when one team just got embarrassed and the other is feeling a little too comfortable. That's why the Bills have to be smart. Expect the unexpected. Don't be shocked if the Saints come in with trick plays, fake punts, or creative packages designed to steal possessions. This is a team trying to find itself, and desperate teams are dangerous. One thing that's becoming increasingly clear about this Saints team is that the margin for error is razor thin. They don't have the luxury of getting away with mistakes, not against teams like the Bills, and honestly, not against anyone in the top half of the league. When you're rebuilding, when you're handing the keys to a young quarterback like Spencer Rattler and asking a first-year head coach to steady the ship, the formula for success has to be clean, disciplined football. But so far this season, that's exactly where the Saints have fallen short. The pre-snap penalties are killers. The special teams miscues have cost them field position and momentum. And the mental errors have come at the worst times, third downs, red zone chances, and in moments when they desperately needed a stop or a drive to settle things down. That can't happen in Orchard Park. Not if they want to look like a team that belongs on the same field as the Bills. And maybe that's the real goal for New Orleans in this matchup. Not necessarily to win, but to prove they can compete. Because let's be honest, if they go toe-to-toe with the Bills for 4 quarters, keep it within a score late, or make Buffalo work for everything, that's a statement in itself. That's a win, even if it doesn't show up in the standings. That's something Kellen Moore can take into the locker room and build on. But if they come out flat, get overwhelmed early, and look lost like they did against Seattle, it'll be another setback. Another game where the biggest opponent wasn't the other team. It was themselves. For Buffalo, this game is about control, establishing it, maintaining it, and using it to keep building toward their ultimate goal. Super Bowl contenders don't just win games, they dominate them when they should. And this is one they should dominate. The talent gap is there. The experience gap is wide. The quarterback gap is enormous. And if you're Sean McDermott, this is the kind of game where you want to see your team flex its depth and discipline. No wild swings. No roller coaster quarters. Just 4 quarters of consistent, professional football. Get the job done, move on, and keep stacking wins. A huge part of that will be neutralizing whatever punch the Saints might try to throw early. Every coach knows that when you're outmatched on paper, you have to be aggressive, unpredictable, and willing to take risks. That's what Kellen Moore has to do in this game. Maybe it's a surprise onside kick, a fake field goal, a flea flicker, or some sort of tempo change to catch Buffalo off guard. It wouldn't be shocking at all if the Saints pulled out something unconventional on their first drive. They've yet to score a touchdown on an opening possession this season, and you can bet that's been a point of emphasis all week. But that kind of trickery only works if you can back it up with real execution. That's where things get dicey. The Saints are still figuring out their offensive identity. They've got explosive weapons. There's no question about that. Chris Olave is a star in the making, a guy who can take the top off a defense. But somehow, the Saints haven't been able to unlock him. He's averaging under 10 yards per catch, which is mind-blowing considering his speed and route-running ability. Spencer Rattler's quick release has kept him upright, but it's also limited the downfield passing game. Everything feels compressed, and that's a dangerous way to live when you're going up against a defense like Buffalo's that thrives on closing windows and forcing tight throws. On the defensive side for New Orleans, it's all about being able to withstand Buffalo's unique run game. The Saints' run defense looks strong on paper, just 3.6 yards per carry allowed, but context matters. They've played most of their games from behind, which naturally limits how often opponents lean on the run. They've faced Mac Jones and Sam Darnold, not exactly threats to open up the full playbook. And they haven't yet seen a team that can put multiple tight ends on the field, shift pre-snap, and create extra gaps in the way Buffalo can. That's going to put enormous pressure on the linebackers, especially Demario Davis and Pete Werner. They've been solid, but if the Bills get rolling with James Cook and their zone run scheme, it's going to be a long afternoon. Cook's vision, patience, and acceleration are tailor-made for this offense. And when the Bills lean on him early, they control the pace of the game. They shorten it. They keep Josh Allen clean. And they force the opposing offense to match every drive just to stay in the game. That's where the pressure mounts, especially for a young quarterback like Rattler who's still getting his legs under him. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. The NFL world has been shaken by whispers coming out of Buffalo this week. And if the rumors are true, the Bills' locker room could be on the verge of a seismic shift. Sources close to the team suggest that James Cook, the Bills' rising star running back, has reportedly made it clear that he no longer wants to share the backfield with Ray Davis. While the team has yet to release an official statement, insiders claim that tensions have been simmering for months, and what once seemed like a dynamic duo may now be teetering on the edge of an irreparable rift. Cook, who has dazzled fans with his explosive runs and versatility, has reportedly grown frustrated with what he perceives as a mismatch in offensive philosophy when paired with Davis. Friends and teammates suggest that while the two have maintained a professional relationship, disagreements on play execution and timing have fueled speculation that Cook is pushing for a change. Industry insiders whisper that this friction could influence the Bills' roster decisions in the coming weeks, potentially triggering trade talks or shifts in the offensive scheme. The rumor mill has been relentless. Some analysts suggest that Cook's outspoken stance may reflect a broader dissatisfaction within the squad, while others believe it's a tactical maneuver designed to secure more touches and a central role in Buffalo's offensive strategy. Team sources have remained tight-lipped, fueling the fire of speculation. Social media has exploded with fans debating the implications. Could this mark the end of a short-lived partnership, or is it merely a negotiating tactic in the high-stakes world of NFL football? If true, the ramifications could be enormous. The Bills' offensive coordinator may have to rethink game plans, and the front office could face pressure to make swift decisions to maintain locker room harmony. For now, all eyes are on James Cook, whose next move could send shockwaves through the league. Whether this is the start of a major shakeup in Buffalo or just a storm in a teacup, one thing is clear. The Bills' backfield saga is far from over, and fans will be watching every development with bated breath. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.